Soviet Union is actually the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, also called the USSR. It eventually started in 1917 and ended in 1991. It had 15 Soviet Socialist republics, and which eventually became communist. It became one of the biggest and most powerful nations. When Lenin died, Joseph Stalin came to power. Stalin made the Soviet Union an industrial and military superpower. The Soviet Union liberated Nazi control in World War II. In 1991, they came to their demise.
World War II was the deadliest war in world history and the Battle of Stalingrad. The deadliest battle of that war, which eventually the Soviet Union will prove victorious in the battle, and eventually the war. But it is really the ego and arrogance of Adolf Hitler that leads to the collapse of Nazi Germany starting at the Battle of Stalingrad.
Our topic is connected to the debate and diplomacy because Hitler's ego and arrogance made him attack Stalingrad. Hitler hated Stalin, and instead of communicating with his generals and ending the war, he moved forward with the attack. He could have beaten the Soviet Union if he did not lead with his ego.
Going to war was a huge mistake for Germany because it was a brutal military campaign. Hitler lost about 800,000 Axis power soldiers, and it weakened the country to a point that they were defeated and eventually conquered because of Hitler's ego and arrogance. When the Nazis attacked the Red Army in Stalingrad, Stalin would take a step back. This eventually paid off because at the end, about 100,000 German soldiers surrendered and were taken as prisoners. Then the rest of the Germans retreated, causing Hitler and the Axis powers to go on a defensive mode, which eventually helped a lot for the Red Army to conquer the Nazi and the Axis powers.
The sources we used is history.com. We used that source because it had lots of useful information about the Battle of Stalingrad. For example, in the first paragraph it summarized the battle, which helped us a lot for the theme. Then the rest is everything about the Battle of Stalingrad. And it includes how it led up to the battle, which is because how much arrogance and ego Adolf Hitler had, causing him to do the attack on Stalingrad instead of Moscow, which could have ended the war with Soviet Union and the Axis power.
Evidence we have from history.com is ultimately Adolf Hitler wanted the Nazis to occupy Stalingrad, seeing its value for propaganda purposes, given that it bore Stalin's name. For similar reasons, the Russians felt special need to protect him, which shows how much Adolf Hitler hated Stalin, so he attacked it because of his arrogance, ego, and his propaganda purpose.
Our interview with Mr. Streit helped us a lot with the project. He helped us find one thing to focus on. Mr. Streit was our secondary source for information because he wasn't in the Battle of Stalingrad or alive at that time. The interview helped us immensely because it started with discussing our theme and thesis. Regarding the thesis, he helped us determine our thesis, which was more specific than just World War II and the Soviet Union. He gave us a choice between the Battle of Stalingrad or the rise of the Soviet Union, the Russian Revolution. We chose the Battle of Stalingrad, which then helped us create the thesis around the topic of the Battle of Stalingrad.
He gave us our main topic, which was how Hitler's ego and arrogance against Stalin made him attack Stalingrad. But he could have attacked Moscow, which was really close, but Stalingrad had Stalin in it. Hitler's ego took over and attacked it, which was a huge mistake, which eventually Stalin would take a step back, so he stayed at war, which paid of the weekend the Axis powers significantly and made the allies of the United States of America defeat the Axis power.
Britannica helped us by giving us tons of information and tons of primary and secondary sources. For example, they gave us images of Stalingrad after the battle. They also told us where they held the battle and what happened during the battle. One example they gave us is this bloody resistance stopped the German attack. This was the turning point of the war in Europe. That shows how Britannica helped us by saying how it was turning point in the war. Then it shows us images of what it looked like And if we did not have this website, we would not know what it looked like. So this shows the Battle of Stalingrad was a turning point in World War II. It was also how the battle was attacked by Hitler, because the city Stalingrad bore the name Stalin. So Hitler's ego and arrogance against Stalin made him attack Stalingrad. Hitler might have won the war if he didn't lead with his ego and arrogance against Stalin. One example of this is ultimately Adolf. Hitler wanted the Nazi to occupy Stalingrad, seeing its value for propaganda purposes, given that it bore Stalin's name. That shows how Hitler had a huge ego and arrogance against Stalin, which then he attacked Stalingrad, which was a huge mistake for Hitler, which his ego made him lose the war.